You've probably been there, right? You pop a tiny pill to stop your sneezing, and suddenly you're fighting off an overwhelming urge to take a nap. Well, today we're going to unravel the really surprising science that's hiding inside your medicine cabinet. It's a mystery a lot of us have experienced, but not many of us actually understand.
I mean, it's such a classic situation. You take an allergy pill for that runny nose, and boom, an hour later you're struggling to keep your eyes open at your desk. It feels like this weird random side effect, but it's actually an amazing window into the secret life of your brain's chemistry. So let's figure out what's really going on in there.
All right, so to solve this whole mystery, first we have to get a handle on the language of the brain. You see, our brains aren't just run by wires and electricity. Nope, there are these incredibly sophisticated chemical communication networks, constantly firing off messages to manage, well, everything we do. And the key players in this whole network are things called neurotransmitters. The best way to think of them is like tiny chemical couriers. A brain cell, what we call a neuron, will release a neurotransmitter to send a super specific instruction to its neighbor, telling it to get fired up, or maybe to calm down, or to do something else entirely. And what's wild is that these messages have to jump across this microscopic gap between the neurons, which is called a synapse. It's not a physical connection at all. Instead, these little neurotransmitters get released from one side and just float across this tiny space to deliver their instructions to receptors waiting on the other side. It is just a beautifully precise delivery system.
And get this is not a simple system. Your brain is using a massive library of over 100 different kinds of neurotransmitters, and each one has its own unique job. You've got some that rev things up, some that cool things down, and this chemical diversity is what gives our brains such incredible control. And one of these messengers, well, it's the secret star of our story today.
Okay, let's talk about histamine. Now, when you hear that word, you're probably thinking allergies, right? Sneezing, itchy eyes, inflammation, and you're not wrong. But it turns out histamine wears two completely different hats in the body.
And this is where it gets really interesting. This is the whole puzzle. So on one hand, you've got the histamine your immune system releases to fight off allergens. That's the stuff that causes your runny nose. But then, on the other hand, you have a totally separate histamine system right inside your brain. This one is released by your neurons, and it has a completely different job. It's one of your brain's main signals for staying awake and paying attention. The command center for your brain's histamine system is this tiny little cluster of cells deep inside an area called the hypothalamus. And from this one little spot, it sends out connections to almost every single part of the brain and spinal cord. It's a really sparse network, but it is incredibly widespread.
So, the most important thing to remember here is that this histamine network in your brain acts like a master switch for being awake. When those neurons are firing and releasing histamine all over your brain, it keeps you alert, it keeps you focused. It's basically your brain's natural on signal.
Okay, so now we have all the pieces of the puzzle, right? We've got a messenger for allergies, and we have the exact same messenger for wakefulness. So how on earth does a pill designed to stop one end up messing with the other?
Well, the answer gets right to the heart of it. The key isn't just the drug itself, but where that drug is able to go. See, those first-generation antihistamines like diphenhydramine, that's the active ingredient in something like Benadryl, they're small enough that they can actually sneak past something called the blood-brain barrier. That's the protective wall that separates your bloodstream from your brain.
So here's exactly how it happens, step by step. Your brain sends out its natural wake-up signal using histamine. But then you take an older allergy pill, and that drug makes its way into your brain. Once it's in there, it can't tell the difference between an allergy receptor in your nose and a wakefulness receptor in your brain, so it just blocks them all. And with the brain's receptors all clogged up, that vital stay awake signal gets silenced. The result? Drowsiness. And there you have it, mystery solved.
But wait, histamine's story doesn't actually stop there. This humble little molecule has other surprising jobs in the brain, which just adds even more layers to how important it is. You know, when you look a little closer, you can see just how central this one chemical is to our daily state of mind. It's made from a simple amino acid, histidine, and it's deployed from that tiny command center deep in the hypothalamus, all just to manage how awake and alert we feel. And here's another really cool twist. Histamine also helps control your vestibular system. That's your sense of balance. And this is exactly why some of those same sleepy antihistamines, like Dramamine, are also really good at preventing motion sickness. What they're doing is calming down the histamine signals that are related to balance and motion.
So the next time you reach for what seems like a simple pill, just remember the hidden chemical dramas that are playing out inside your brain. The sleepy allergy pill really shows us that the line between treating our body and influencing our mind is often a lot blurrier than we think. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other common, everyday medicines are quietly influencing our brain's most essential functions?